Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Average Guy Opinions with your average guy, John Corelli. This is episode number 19. I'm going to talk about vaccinations, not just the COVID 19 vaccination, but vaccinations in general. I was actually an anti vaxxer for a while, and not a total anti vaxxer because you gotta not be ridiculous in this world. But I was a big believer in the early study by Dr. Timothy Wakefield that actually was showed a theory that vaccinations, specifically the MMR vaccination, which is mumps, measles, rubella, combined together, were causing higher rates of autism. I still, to an extent, believe that because I have seen other studies, not just Wakefield's, but other studies by other doctors that have also, can't say proven it, but correlated it. It's obvious that it can't just be the MMR that's causing autism. We all know that. There has to be a genetic factor as well. Most people believe that autism is a genetically and environmentally caused phenomenon. I have a son who has autism. Many of you know this, many of you don't. He's 23. He does pretty well, but he has pretty severe autism. He generally doesn't talk. I've never had a true conversation with him. I can ask questions and get answers, and once in a while he will, of his own volition, ask me for something or tell me something, but it's very rare. It's a couple times a day. Otherwise, he's pretty much in his own world. He functions very well. He held down a job for a while until COVID. He was working in a movie theater, so COVID destroyed that. And he was taking public transportation there, which was a big deal. Me and his mother never thought he would be able to do that, so that was great. But you look at vaccinations today, and I'm sorry I didn't research. This is me being the average guy. I don't do a ton of research before I do these. It's just me spilling my guts for 10 minutes. But I know there are way more vaccinations required for children up until the age of 18 than there were when I was a kid. And that's, to me, that's big pharma, right? That we don't need all of these vaccinations, in my opinion. Many of these things have practically been eradicated. Polio, smallpox, um, chickenpox. I mean, yeah, chickenpox sucks. You're itchy for a week. And I know that the theory is, well, you get shingles later if you don't get the chickenpox vaccine. Not necessarily. Now you can get the shingles vaccine. Having said that, let me start off right off. I mean, even it's 3 minutes in, but let me tell you, I absolutely intend on getting the COVID vaccine for two reasons. One, I work in a school, so it's the responsible thing to do. This pandemic is not the flu. I never got a flu shot, by the way. Never did. Was fine up until last year, when I don't know what I had. Well, I was diagnosed with pneumonia, which sucked. That was right when COVID started, probably in April. I think ended up going to the hospital finally after a week of weird symptoms all over the place. Felt like a flu, but when it finally hit my lungs, I was like, okay, this is getting real now. I'm going to the hospital. I should have made them test me for COVID as well, but they did a lung x-ray on me and said, okay, you got pneumonia. They gave me some kick ass antibiotics, a 5-day regimen. I was like, I thought they were usually 10. He's like, oh, these are going to dry you out, man. And they did. I was drinking water and taking one of these horse pills a day, and I was feeling fine literally in like a day or two. So, but, and like I say, for this vaccine, I absolutely plan on getting it. I'm a little lower on the tier than I was hoping to be. I'm on the list as of what's today, January 18th. I am on the list, so hopefully get it soon. Like I said, I work in a school. I live in a duplex with my parents, and then my stepdad's 80. My mom's going to be 73 next month. So and I have kids that are staying home all the time. That's a responsibility. I work with children, so obviously, yeah. When it comes to that, I'm not a I'm not a Trump supporting anti-mask or Bill Gates putting a chip in me type of guy. However, I will say with other vaccines, we have taken, we being my ex-wife and I, we took a lot of precautions because Dante did seem to get his symptoms of autism after the MMR. Here's the problem with vaccines and the early age we're giving them to these children. How much exposure can these children get to these diseases? Is my question. Mumps, measles, rubella. I know they would. They could be. I know we had a measles outbreak in Great Britain a few years ago because of some anti-vaxxing. So there's a point on that side. I'm not going to deny that. However, could it wait until they were 3 years old? Could it wait until these kids are 5? You got to understand that these are shots that are being given to these. They're babies. They're 14 to 18-month babies that are getting 3 types of vaccination in one shot. And by the way, that came about in the 70s. It was a one of those things. To me, it was bad, but there was a good intention behind it. They used to give the 3 shots separately, and then a lot of people, especially poor people, urban people, were not getting all 3. Because if you're poor and got to get on a bus and go to the hospital 3 separate times, you might not get all 3. You might just pick and choose and go, you know what, measles sounds bad. Mumps, I haven't heard anyone getting. I'm not going to get the mumps. So, and rubella, what the hell is that? But honestly, that's what happened. At the same time, autism rates skyrocketed. Now, to be fair, autism also was being discovered and diagnosed more than ever in the 70s, 80s, 90s up until today. And other ailments or disorders that are along the autism spectrum, like Asperger's, ADHD, a whole umbrella of issues, OCDs even in their anxiety disorder and such. I don't know. When I was young, I believe it was 8 vaccines you had to have by the time you're 18. Now it's around 30. And they want to tell you can't go to school, too. I've had to sign waivers for my kids. I've tried to be smart about it. Like I say, I don't consider myself an anti-vaxxer. I'm like, no vaccines for these kids. No. But when was the last case of polio? When was the last case of smallpox? If things have generally been eradicated, why are we pumping these into our children still? Or, like I say, a lot of these things I've just waited. Said, okay, your body's bigger now. You're 10. Instead of being a 20-pound child, you're now a 60-pound child. You can handle this better. So I think there is something to this, to those theories that maybe they are behind some of the issues we're having. With a lot of it, like I say, is also diagnosis and catching stuff. But I think there is something to be said that what we're pumping into our bodies affects our brains. Another thing that people seem to forget about when it comes to anti-vaxxers is a big part of the anti-vaxxing movement isn't necessarily getting rid of vaccinations. It is making them a little more body-friendly. The big part of the problem is most vaccinations, I believe, are still, I could be wrong about this, but at least for a very long time, they were stored in a preservative called thimerosal, a mercury-based preservative. This is where the real theories come in about autism with vaccinations. Thimerosal, like I said, is mercury-based. And the mercury, when you look at autism symptoms and mercury poisoning symptoms, they're almost identical. It's very, very similar. So that's where the real theory came in. And especially when you consider this, I found out late, just a few years ago, but in the 90s, they took thimerosal out of animal vaccines at the veterinary clinics, left them in for the humans. Weird, right? Not very sensical in my opinion. So, as a parent, as an adult, you just got to make your own choices, make your own decisions on these things. But we've tried to spread our kids out, my ex-wife and I, and it's worked out pretty well. They're healthy as shit. I mean, they almost never get sick, my kids. They're really amazing. I mean, I was a pretty healthy kid too, and I think my wife was, so maybe that's partially genetics as well. But they do really, really well. And like I say, they're not completely up to date according to today's standards on vaccinations. Like I say, some of them were like, no, he doesn't need this. He shouldn't, and HPV, we're weighing that one. We're gonna look. We gotta look into that. They definitely, my sons also definitely want the COVID vaccine, so that's good. We're gonna get them that when it's available to them. They're way down the list because they're young, healthy people. But yeah, so it's not always just about the vaccines, but it's about the preservative that they are often stored in. I think still stored into this day. You can get organic, non-preservative vaccines. Apparently, they're hard to get. So there's a little anti-vaxxer slash common sense vaxxer spiel for you. Hope you enjoyed this 10 minutes. We will talk soon, hopefully tomorrow. Have a great night or day or whatever you're having. See you soon. Bye.